Okay, so I'm going to show how to do more of a medium skin tone, and I have a color selected that I've used to mask out this face. So you can see that, I mean, it's not a perfect color. Again, you always start with something that's kind of in the medium tone. And then I'm going to also create a clipping layer. So I'm going to create a layer above that and then turn it into a clipping mask. And then on this layer, I can do the highlighting and shading. So I'm selecting the color from the square on the left hand side, and I'm going to go to the color selector, and I'm going to go lighter. So go to a lighter tone, and then what I'm going to do first is just go through and kind of give it highlights, right? So same thing as I did before, you're just gonna create the cheekbones and the bone structure. And you know, it might be a little rough at first, but you can always turn on the photo layer again if you'd like, and you can help yourself by looking at where those highlights are more specifically. Okay. So that's just kind of loosely mapping those in. Turn that off again. And then I also want to pick a kind of warmer tone for the shading. So I want to go slightly warmer and slightly darker. Okay, let's try that, and I'll make the brush lighter. And I'm going to go in and just smudge some of this together so that they blend a little more. And take a look at my photo. Okay, so now I want to take that same color and then maybe go into the gray range with it. And I'm gonna maybe lighten it a little bit in opacity, and then just find some spots you wanna bring out the shading. And you can get a little tighter with it by making a smaller pencil or smaller airbrush. And like I said, go back again and just look at the photo, see if you miss anything, maybe a little more here. I can even make my brush smaller and make the color slightly darker. Okay, so going back in, I want to make things lighter, and I've got a good middle range right now. And I need to get back onto this clipping layer, and I have a big brush. So I'm just going to go in and kind of, I want to make a less opaque brush. I'm going to go in and just even lighten this more. And it's kind of hard to get it perfect. So I adjust the opacity until I get a nice soft brush. Okay, so it's getting better. And I want to add a little more of a warm tone to the color. It's really hard to get the right tones as you're working, so I just suggest you play with it and go back and forth. The original photo has kind of a nice warm tone at the edge of the shadows, so I'm just gonna do that over everything. and just keep playing with it. You're gonna wanna, you know, go back and forth with the highlights. And you can even kind of go back and look at the image. And then if you wanna, I wanna work on this eye, or the nose I should say, the shadow right at the nose. So I'm gonna select it out and then go into the darker tones here. And maybe a smaller brush, and just, you can kind of go in and more specifically work on that shadow. So I'm just going in and adding a little more shadow, and I think it's time to kind of go in and smudge. Oops. Smudge it. Let's do some sort of soft smudge. Okay, and then on the skin layer, I'm gonna go and I'm also gonna lighten the eyes. And then the teeth as well, like they kind of have a shadow. And then we can also shade in the eyes a bit. And then I'm gonna go back into the sketch layer, and I just wanna touch up this eye. It needs a little more of a line on the bottom. Okay, and then I could go back in and do lips. Let's just select the color, and then I want to go more red, right? So you could choose to go more of a natural color or a lipstick color. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna select that one. I'm gonna get my paintbrush, go back to airbrush. And I actually want to select the lips so that I don't draw beyond them. Okay, so to focus on the lips now, what I want to do is select out the area on the outside of the lips. And then I want to invert it so that I can exclude the part that shows the teeth, okay? And then I want to invert it again, and then I have just the lips selected. And I have a color here that I want to use. It's kind of a neutral pink color. And I'm going to go and make the brush a little bigger. I'm just going to start with kind of this light color, and I'm going to use the skin tone to help shade the shape of the lips. I'm going to use it as the highlight. And then I can get a slightly darker color. Okay, and then you can zoom out and see how that looks. Oops. So pretty good. And then maybe I didn't quite get in there enough with, I want to make a smaller brush and just fix this edge because it's not perfect. So I'm just going to clean up the outside edge of the lips where I missed some parts. Oops. And it's better to select the color that you're drawing near. And then I'm also going to go around and maybe add a little more shadow to the face. So let's select some skin tone. Oops. Okay, so I kind of went ahead and did a little more detail on the face and gave it some more shadow. And I did do the hair, gave it some highlights, some shadows, a little texture. You know, at this point, what you could do is go in and give it a little bit of makeup. And what I can do is just select the skin tone and kind of move into like a rouge color. And then I'll do a paintbrush that is a big soft brush. So this is under the airbrush. And I'm going to make it big and very pale. And you can just kind of shade the backside of that cheekbone. Oops, too much. You know, it's kind of tricky to do. You just want to do a little bit at a time. And you can do a little on this side as well. And you know, if you do too much or it doesn't look right, just go back to the skin tone and get that and just kind of go over that blush color as well, and it'll smooth it out. And then I'll also kind of select that highlight again and do that as well to kind of blend that blush in. Okay, so there's some blush, got lipstick. I put a little shading on the eyes. You can go a little farther if you wanted to add more kind of a makeup color. You can go more in the gray tone if you'd like. And I would do a smaller brush, a little more opaque, and you can zoom in and kind of do some sort of eyeshadow. I already darkened around the eyes. And then you might want to put in a highlight as well. So I'll select right above the eyebrow and maybe go lighter. And then you can even take the smudge tool and kind of blur those lines that I've created for the eyeshadow. That'll soften it up. Okay, so I would say that that is pretty good and gives you a sense of highlight and shadow as well.